Good evening and happy, healthy, winning Wednesday. My name is Rhonda Watson. I am the founder and owner of 3E Visions. 3E Visions, all about the service and customer service. I want to thank you for joining us tonight for the business conversation. We are having an excellent, in depth conversation with the Money Mastery Coach herself, Deb Howard. And I am so looking forward to having this conversation with Deb. It's a long time coming. And good evening, Valencia. And I'm truly, truly grateful that Deb has taken the time out of her day to come and join me. But before Deb comes on, I just wanted to talk about mindset. Um, Mindset. Last night, the three coaches from my C4 family, Donna, Dorcas, and Kristen, special shout outs to them. Kristen mentioned about God made, and she mentioned being a God made billionaire. And I've adapted that mindset. I want to be a God made billionaire. I want to be a God made billionaire because I want to help individuals who are in need. For example, if a family, God forbid, has a fire and I'm a God made billionaire, I'll put them up in a hotel and make them comfortable while they're going through this tragedy. Not for fame or fortune, but because I know what it was like to be in a home situation and have to be displaced. So I would definitely want to be that God made billionaire. I want to be a God made billionaire so that I can help others through loss of employment, through a health crisis, if they couldn't pay their medical bill. I want to be a God made billionaire that if my church says we're down to the last $500,000 and I can pay off the building fund, I want to be the anonymous donor that does that. I want to be a God made billionaire so that I can help those in distress. That's my mindset now, to be that vessel that is used to help others. Why I call my business 3 Visions is because the impact that the customer, the employee, and the business owner has on each other. It's an impact that's like, it's unique. It's like no other. And when you are in business, you help others. When you are a business owner, you are helping an employee provide for their family. You're providing a service or selling a product to the customer. You're helping a community. When you're an employee, you're putting a smile on someone's face. You're helping your family. And when you're a customer, you're helping a business owner as well as an employee survive. All three impact each other. So when you are a customer, client, or consumer, don't go in with the attitude into an establishment or when you're purchasing a product, oh, just giving them my money. Go in that you're going to bless someone. When you're an employee, go into your workplace and say, I'm going to bless this place today. I'm going to find favor with God and man. I'm going to help someone and I'm going to put a smile on their face. When you're a business owner, bless your employees. Pray over your employees that they provide service like no other. Pray that you get the right customers, that you attract the right customers for your business. That is something now that we have to realize. We impact one another each and every day. So be kind, be compassionate towards each other, and see that we're going to make a difference in this world. That's the 3E Visions Corner. Once again, my name is Rhonda Watson. I am the founder and CEO of 3E Visions, where we're all about the service and customer service. I would like now to invite Ms. Deb Howard so we can discuss money and tips on how in this economy we can make a change, not only for ourselves, but to help others. So let me get her on here. So Ms. Howard, Coach Deb.
Hey, hey, hey.
Virtual round of applause for Coach Deb. How are you?
I am great. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for being on the show tonight. I greatly appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, so I just want to give God praise and thanks for this moment with you. I always try to remember to thank Him for everything that I do. So, with that in mind, let's start. Who is Deb Howard?
Who is Deb Howard? That's a good question right there. Deb Howard, I am a money mastery coach. I am a coach. I'm also a mother. I'm a GG, which is short for grandmother. Um, I was at one point a wife. My husband passed away. I'm a sister. I'm a friend. Yeah, I'm all of that. Yeah, I'm an HR leader. I'm HR manager. I've actually been in human resources too long, 20 something years.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
yeah, I'm all of that. But I really love helping people, with money. Yeah. And that's because of my own story, right? The things we go through, they're the things that help
Okay.
others.
Okay. So, would you mind sharing a bit about yourself as far as your story? So maybe
Sure,
it'll have an impact on
sure.
someone else.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, Deb Howard. I grew up. I'll keep it short, but I grew up in a lower middle class, maybe at sometimes poor family. Had five brothers, and my experience with money as a child, what I saw. My parents were great parents, right? No complaints about mom and dad, but they didn't know as much about money as many of us today, right? Definitely a different time. And so I'll share what I remember most about money was during Christmas time. My parents would go out. I'm going to make, you might know, Rhonda, but some people don't know about this. My parents would go out and write hot checks to buy Christmas gifts for us, right? Because it was, my parents did not, they loved us. They wanted us to have what everybody else had. And anyway, so they would go out and write. And for those who don't know, because I'm telling you, every time I say this, somebody will always ask, what's a hot check? Back in the day, you could write a check at your retailer, similar to today,
Mhm.
except it would usually take 1, 2, sometimes longer, 2 to 3 weeks sometimes before that check would clear.
Right.
So you could write a check not having the money. And what my parents would do is when that check got back, they would try to pay. Now, that process, we all know Christmas is in December. Sometimes my parents were still paying for things in the summer. Okay. So it was a very stressful, and I saw the stress on my dad. I saw it. I mean, they would be so stressed out. And as I became an adult, guess what I did? Some of the same things. Not with checks, but I got some credit cards right out of high school. And, I'm sure all of you have a similar tale. So I kind of
Mhm.
went through this whole um, just money stress cycle, right? I mean, I really didn't know what I was doing, but I only knew because this is what my parents taught. If you can get it and figure out how to pay for it later. And
Mhm.
that's what I did. And it was very
Mhm.
stressful. I hated being stressed out. I'll leave out some of the details, but I eventually got married. Um, Still had same habits. My husband's credit was better, but still, we both had some bad habits. Well,
Mhm.
then my parents got sick. They moved in with us. I had two kids of my own, my two brothers. We buy a big house, a nice house for all of us to stay in. My husband,
Mhm.
long story short, a year, not even a year later, we bought the house in June. My husband died in November. Um, yeah. um, I was 30 something at the time, early 30s.
Mhm.
And I was stressed out because remember, he had the good credit.
Right.
So,
Right.
or the decent credit. And now I'm stuck with the mortgage. We had some insurance, not enough, nowhere near enough. Let me just say, I mean, we had enough to bury him. I didn't have to worry about that.
Mhm.
But all of a sudden I'm the head of a household of 6 people. And yeah, stressed
I can
out,
imagine. Yeah.
stressed out. I mean, and when I tell you guys, I was stressed out. I wanted to commit myself. At one point, I even thought about ending it. I mean, I was just so stressed. My husband died. I could not even take off to grieve. I mean, let me get back to work. I didn't really have that much time. When you're younger, you tend not to have that tenure, right, with the company. So I didn't have much time to take off. So I just, got back in it, and it was horrible. Let me just tell you. Long story short, emotional roller coaster. But at some point, I left what I knew, which was a traditional Baptist church at the time. And I went to another church. And anyway, I got into the word and I started learning about, what? God is not trying to have me broke. Why am I struggling? Why am I going through this? There's got to be a better way. And through a process, I got myself out of debt. I got to a place. And when I say that, a lot of times people think that I was making a lot of money. I was not making a lot of money. I was making an average income, y'all. Let me just say that. I wasn't in no 6 figures. I wasn't making all this big money. But I learned that, real wealth is really not about how much you make. It's about how much you spend. And if you can get that spending in line and really focus. Now, I'm not going to tell you it was easy, but if you focus, I had student loan debt, I had credit card debt, I had car notes, I had all of it. Right. It wasn't that I didn't have much debt. I had my share. And plus I had a mortgage. And I had parents who needed stuff. And I had kids who needed stuff. And it was the whole thing, but I learned through that. And through that process, I started teaching at my church about money and So here we are.
So what exactly is a money mastery coach?
Money mastery coach is someone like me who will help you not only get out of debt. Now, I am a firm believer. Let me just say it up front, because I know sometimes people glamorize debt. I'm not saying that, debt is good or bad, but I am saying that it's bad. I'm saying that revolving credit card debt is bad, right? It's not good, right? So I believe, and as a coach, I believe that first step, let's get you organized, right? Help you organize, get your finances in order, right? Get your spending under control, because really you're not going to get out of debt unless you can figure out where the money going. And a lot of times when we have issues with money, it's because we don't know where our money's going. Oh, I paid the rent, I paid the car. No, well, where the rest of the money? Okay, so it's really about getting your finances in order, getting out of debt. And then once we're out of debt or close to out of debt, right, maybe everything except the house, really managing your funds for wealth, learning to manage your funds so you can accumulate wealth, so you are mastering your money, right? Not your money mastering you. Many times we can't all the time. We don't have the money. It's because our money didn't told us. You ain't got no money, right? Because you're not ruling that, right? You're not telling your money what to do. Your money is telling you what to do, right? You hear people say it, right? I don't have enough money. Well, that's your money talking. If God is telling you to do something, then you need to tell your money what to do so you can do what God is telling you.
Okay. So I believe in the principle of spending, saving, and giving. And the reason I believe in giving 10% to my church. I don't say I'm giving it to my church because I believe in the ministry that my church has. They do a lot of community based, shout out to Lenox Road Baptist Church here in Brooklyn. They do a lot of community based things like book bag giveaways. The 27th, they're having a big block party. It's our 150th year in ministry. So I understand the concept. And I've learned that concept early on. As many people may not like Creflo Dollar, him and my godmother taught me the importance of tithing.
Mhm.
I also believe that you are to give and help others when you can, especially if it's spirit led. Am I right for saying so?
Absolutely. Living, giving, and investing, right? That's what I live by. When we live, we're managing, right? Our finances, we're doing what we need to do to live. But giving is so important because the reason why we want to master our money is so that we can give, so that we can give without being stressed out. How about that? Without
Mm.
robbing Peter to pay Paul, right? Can we really be a blessing? And can we be a blessing and be blessed? Right, that's the key. So yeah, I'm absolutely right. Give. And I think when we get really in a position, we can give above and beyond, right? We don't have to be limited to the restrictions of whether it's 10% or whatever it is you believe, right? We can give and know that, you know what, I got it. I'm in a position to do it. I know I can do this. I can help my neighbor, right? I heard you earlier saying if my church in debt, I want to pay it off. I'm like you, sis. I want to buy a house for people. I want to be able to say to the young mother, who I was a teen mother too, that, hey, let me buy you a house. I see what you're doing, right? Because this is how we're going to make an impact in the Black community. I know there might be others watching, but I'm Black. And so I'm really concerned about wealth in the Black community and us, right? Those of us who are already there, leaving an inheritance. We got to stop being selfish. Leave an inheritance for them children. Everybody else leaves inheritance. Leave something besides a bill, that is. Okay. And so, yes, I absolutely agree with you. Absolutely.
Okay. So speaking of bills, when a person, how important is it for us, especially in the Black and brown community? Let me say that. How important is it for us to get life insurance?
Let me just say from someone
Because I
who's
don't believe a GoFund is life insurance.
the
Let me just
chicken
say a
dinner, the
GoFund or what,
chicken
a
dinner plan
GoFund,
is
however you say it. I don't believe that's life insurance.
that's not insurance. No, we got to get away from the GoFundMe's, the chicken dinners, the car washes, all of that. Yeah, life insurance is critical. All right. So in the Black and brown community, arguably, right, we're behind. Right, we're behind in the wealth building legacy that other communities in this country may already have. Right, they got some generations up on us. So what we've got to do now is be strategic. Right, I am a big proponent of insurance, and we've got to have a little more than enough to bury you. Right, we need to be able to buy the policies, and most of the time we can. Let me just say that we can. All right, we walking around here in designer, whatever, we can buy some life insurance. So I am a huge proponent in getting insurance at least 10 times your income at the very least, because who you're leaving behind, right? Whether it's a child, a spouse, a cousin, it doesn't matter, a neighbor, somebody, right? Especially in our community can benefit from you. And I know especially in the Black and brown communities, I know we have a thing with that about I don't want people getting over while I'm gone. You gone. Be a blessing. Right? We talk about being a blessing. We talk about buying Black and all of that, and that's great. But why not make the investment in your family and in the community by having life insurance, not only to bury you, I'm glad you buried, that's the least you could do, but to also give them a heads up, a step up. I'm telling you, that is my passion, that my children, when I leave here, whenever that is, they will have more than bills, right? They're going to have a house because my house paid for now. They're going to have life insurance. They got a 401. There's going to be something there. And so I believe, in our community, Rhonda, we've got to absolutely think further than just us. We got to stop saying that, I ain't gonna worry about that because I'm not gonna be here. Well, somebody got to worry about it.
Worry about it, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Somebody got to worry about it.
And here's the thing, Coach Deb. People don't know. There's been a study lately. Cremation is costing just as much as a regular funeral.
Yes, it is.
And I was taken back by that. I was like, what? You just putting somebody in an oven and they're saying no, it's costing just as much to cremate. Cremation is costing just as much as regular funerals now.
Yeah, because they make you, I know here in my state, they make you buy a casket. That's number one. So you got to, yeah, you got to take that money out. But yeah, it can be just as expensive. And I think that, going back to your question, we have to think further than just, I'm just going to make sure it's enough to put me in the ground or in the furnace, wherever you're going, right? We have to begin to think about, who am I leaving behind and how am I going to give them the leg up? Why not, when I leave, if my children, my prayer for sure, that they will be able to take that money and either get out of that themselves if they're in debt, or invest it in property. They know how I feel, right? Invest it, buy some property, right? Buy some land, a house, a building, do something that's going to last past, right? Even your lifetime, right? The one thing that there's not any more of is land. And I think we're foolish not to buy land, not to buy property. They're not making any more. Okay, so it's going to be valuable at some point, right? Even in some of our lower income communities, unfortunately, we're seeing this, right? That they're coming in and building gentrification. They're coming in and building these high rises, these very expensive condos. And what are they doing? They're pricing us out of the community. They're pricing us out because those taxes get so expensive. We have, so the people that we leave, or even our own grandparents, some of us might leave before, let's just be honest, some of us might leave before them, right? And so we shouldn't leave them in a position where they're going to lose everything because we don't have any money.
Okay, so you touched on two subjects. Let me get to one that's really on my mind. Everyone knows I had COVID. It made me start to really, it made me think about my health overall. How important is health insurance? And even though health insurance is going up because of COVID, the studies are showing health insurance is on the rise now. Health insurance going up, it's automatic. It's going to go up. We can, just like everything else, it's going to go up. How do we prepare ourselves for this economic change that's happening now? I know you mentioned being mindful of how we're spending. What are some of the other things we can do as far as bringing some wealth into our circle? Because it's not only us. I'm a divorced mom of 3. I'm now thinking, okay, God forbid. When I was sick, my son said I was acting crazy. I said, it wasn't bad, but to me, it was bad enough. And I said to him, if anything happens, please take care of your sisters. And he said, Mom, nothing's not going to happen to you. But, I'm starting to think ahead because, as a friend of mine mentioned, we have shorter days ahead, but we have longer days behind us. So I'm like, okay, so I'm just thinking now, how do we start bringing more wealth into our circle, into our immediate circle? What are some of the things that we can start doing?
Great question. Listen, so you touched on 2 things. Number one, health insurance. We got to have health insurance, y'all. I don't care how expensive health insurance get. It's not as expensive as the bill from the hospital, okay, or from the doctor. That is not going down. I have insurance, and I had shingles a couple of years ago with my insurance, and I thought it was great insurance, and I still was out of pocket a couple of $1,000s because I had to go to the emergency room. I had to get, specialist care, all of this stuff. So it's expensive, and I have insurance, so I think, it's non-negotiable. Okay. Look, life insurance and health insurance, they kind of go together in my mind. You've got to have enough insurance if you don't have cash. Now, if you have a fund, there are several ways we can fund our health insurance, right? We can either have health insurance, there are HSAs, high deductible plans, whatever. So you can get, there are different options. But what I would recommend first is take care of ourselves. In the Black and brown community, we got to stop playing with our health. Look, Deb included, we got to stop playing with our health. Right? We've really got to take seriously doing the things that we need to do so that we can have longer life, so we can stop letting diabetes and high blood pressure take us out before it's time. So I think that's number one. But after that, we've got to have health insurance. You know, we've got to, if you can't get it through your job, then definitely look at some of the higher deductible plans. And that's going to mean, right, saving the money so that you can pay the deductible. Right? Don't get into a high deductible plan if you don't have the deductible. Okay, because then you won't go to the doctor. You still won't be able to get that healthcare service under that plan. So I think the HSAs are great. That's a whole nother discussion. I won't get too deep into it, but basically you can fund those and you can use them for other purposes depending on the plan. So it can also be a savings plan if you don't have an option for insurance. But if you have the option for insurance, if you have a plan at your job, or you have some kind of self-employment plan, then definitely use that. So health insurance is so important because a high percentage of bankruptcies are based on medical emergencies. It's because of medical bills, right? And so we don't want to file bankruptcy. We don't want to get in that kind of situation. So insurance is important. Now, all that said, if you have cash, then you just need to allocate enough money, right? Set aside enough money so that you can fund your own healthcare, right? And as we age, it gets more expensive. Even the healthiest people, right? It starts getting more expensive, especially over 50, right? And I'm over 50. But yeah, we do need to have health insurance. How do we bring that wealth in our community? Well, number one, we bring it into our community by managing our own finances, by not overspending, by having our finances in order so that we can do just what you said, save, give,
spend,
and
share.
spend, right?
Yeah.
I say living, giving, and investing, right? So you got to have it all. You got to get that finance in order so we're not overspending, so we can invest. If you're overspending, you can't give right, and you sure can't invest. Right. So we got to get to the point where we're investing, whether it's in property, whether it's in stocks, whether it's in crypto, whether it's in a bank, whether it's in a piggy bank. We just got to begin to accumulate money. Once we get to that point, and many of your listeners, I'm sure, have small businesses. Y'all, everybody need a small business. I don't even know what else to say with that. We need more than one stream of income. We cannot continue, especially in the Black and brown community. We cannot depend on someone else to save us. And that includes your employer. We can no longer sit back and hope that Mr. Man is going to keep us employed so that we can finish paying off whatever, or so that we can eat tomorrow, or we can't do that anymore, right? We've seen a pandemic that completely shifted. Now, even before the pandemic, it was like this. But if nothing else, I believe that the pandemic opened our eyes to the possibility that your company could be wiped out in a day, right? Companies closed in like a matter of weeks after this pandemic hit the land. So we've got to be smarter. We've got to be more strategic than that. So we've got to have another form of income. We've got to even several streams, but at least one business we need to have so that we can have funding coming in, right? That we can invest, right? Being smart with that money. That's how we start teaching our kids. I love what I'm seeing on social media. Many people are starting to get their kids in business early. Right? They don't have to wait till they get out of school to start a business. I've seen all kind of businesses. I know you guys have too. Lemonade companies, vending machines, whatever. Right? And my dad too was an entrepreneur. That he had several businesses himself, but he taught us too about that. That hey, I always have a way to make money. Always have another way to bring in income. All right, because many of us, most of us, let's be honest, we're not gonna get rich on these jobs, right? Most of us won't.
No,
Okay. So
no,
we've got to not be afraid to take the risk and go ahead, and especially when you have a job, go ahead and open up a business, find something you enjoy doing and start bringing that income in, start teaching your kids about it. Make sure your family is educated about how to use money. It's a tool. It's a tool for
Mm-hmm.
us. We should be using it to build wealth and to build our communities.
Okay. So you just mentioned, okay, let me get to gentrification real quick
Okay.
and home ownership. Please, can you share the importance, the urgency of us holding on to our homes, especially in the Black and Brown community? How important that is for us.
Rhonda, it's critical in my eyes. Now, I live in Houston, Texas, and I've seen several communities go through it and are still going through it. And one thing that I hate to hear, and I've heard it from my sisters and brothers in the community,
Mm-hmm.
is, yeah, I'm just going to let them have that. It wasn't all of that anyway. All right. I think that really comes from a poverty mindset of us not really valuing and understanding the value of what we have. If somebody else wants it, that should tell you right there that it's valuable. So yeah,
Beautiful.
we've got to, and I don't even know how else to put it, but we've got to get passionately, vibrantly excited about keeping what is ours, right? What your parents, what your grandparents have worked for, even what you're working for. We've got to get passionate about keeping that property, right? Doing what we need to do so that even if it's a family member, we keep that property in our community. What's happening is, especially here in Houston, is that lower income right individuals, these communities are being overrun by these, oh my God, 4, 5, 6-figure buildings and townhomes and condos, and we get pushed further and further out, away from services, usually away from public transportation, right? We get stuck out in the suburbs somewhere or further, and it limits us even more in our ability to build wealth, because now I've lost my home, right? I'm further away from what I know, and I'm not able to leave anything or even to leverage anything so that I can build wealth. See, the thing about home ownership and owning property is that you can leverage that at a time of need, or you can leverage it to buy more property, more investment property, maybe some rental homes, maybe a townhome, whatever. So we've really got to get passionate about it so that we can build wealth. When we don't get property, home ownership in the Black community is lower almost than any other minority community. All right. So we have got to be passionate that, look, not only am I going to buy a home, I'm going to make sure that I have enough resources available when I leave here so that that home can be kept in the family. So many times, and I have an example in my own family. When my own grandmother died, there was a stress. She had a home, right? Of course, everybody else had a home. And so there was a stress, right? A battle over whether to keep the home, who was going to pay the taxes, all of these things. They came up selling the home for little of nothing in one of these house buying places, right? Why? And we know they're out there. Why? Because they know the value. They know that even if that property doesn't seem like it's worth now, again, they're not building no more property. They're not adding land to the continent. So eventually that property is going to have value. And companies are coming in. I don't know about any other city, but I know here. They're coming in and they're buying up homes just crazily and renting them out. The companies are renting those homes out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Here in New York, too. Here in Brooklyn, especially. We saw the surge of gentrification after the crack era, basically.
Okay.
New York went through, I grew up in what they call Bedford-Stuyvesant, Bushwick area. And now I couldn't afford to live out in Bed-Stuy, Bushwick area. A studio And this was, I'll say, in 2007. I remember going around doing a survey. And in 2007, a building that I had to do a survey on, not the landlord, the property manager said the studio goes for 4,200. A studio, Coach
Wow.
Deb, a studio, no bedroom, just a kitchen sectioned off, your living space and your bathroom.
Yeah.
4,200, and that was in 2007. This is now 2022, so I can only imagine
Yeah.
what that apartment is going for now, that studio is going for now. On average, a 2-bedroom in Brooklyn now can be anywhere from $2,500 to $3,000.
Wow.
And here's my question to you.
Hmm.
I know you don't know New York like that, but how do you encourage a person that's making less than living wage to keep pushing, to keep fighting, to keep
Yes.
their home, to keep where they are?
Yes.
What's
Yes.
the advice that you give them for this? Because it
Listen.
becomes heart-wrenching. Because here it is, there's so much different terminologies. One of the terminologies that really gets my goat is when they call you working class homeless. And you're working class homeless because you live with someone. It's not a roommate. So if you live with a relative, you're
Mhm.
considered working class homeless.
Yeah.
So how do you keep someone saying you could do it? You're going to figure it out. What is it that you can say to encourage them? What words of encouragement can you use?
Listen, I can encourage you because number one, I've been there. I've almost lost my house I'm in now 4, 5, 10 times, right? Because I didn't have the money. After my husband died, I lost his income, right? I mean, and his was the bigger income, right? I think I was making, I'm gonna just tell you, I was making like 38,000 a year. Okay, something like that. And the mortgage alone was at the time $1,100, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it was everything. It was everything for me to
Mm-hmm.
keep things going. So what I would say is yes, don't give up. You know, especially if you're a believer, there's a grace that God will give us sometimes. I'm telling you, He will give us favor in these situations. And not that it was easy. I don't want to make it sound like, oh yeah, God came in and rained in, money dollars out the clouds. But what I did do is keep going. And I would encourage you, keep going, right? Because there is a breakthrough that God wants to do in your life. I was working a full-time job. I had, I'm really for the best, y'all, but when it wasn't cool, I was doing home-based, I had a home-based business with a place called West. Y'all probably don't know about that, but it was a phone company, a direct selling company, right? We took incoming calls from infomercials. So I would do this at night, making, I forgot, 20 cents a minute or something. I worked for 1-800-Flowers. I worked for U-Haul. I did all of this, right? Didn't even realize that I had a little business going. I didn't even know it then, Rhonda. I was just trying to make it. I was just trying to survive, right? So I'm working, 7 to 4, coming home. I work for the cable company. I've done all kind of phone work from home. And I would work from the time I got home till 1 o'clock in the morning. And then get up and start over, right? Was it tough? Hell yes, it was tough. Was I tired? Was I frustrated? Did I feel like this is never going to end? I really did. But little by little, I began to make an impact in my own finances, in my own life, little by little. Yes, I didn't got the foreclosure notices a couple of times, right? I didn't got behind, but I was able to work through it, right? And sometimes it was somebody helping me out. I ain't gonna lie. Sometimes somebody would come through for me and they were able to help me out. But through all of that, right? That was 20 years ago, right? I can look back at that and say, I don't know how I did it, but God did it, right? He brought me through. And I believe it's because I really was praying, but not only that, I was doing. Listen, you're not going to get out of it not doing it, not doing any work. not putting in the effort, right? You can't give up, right? You can do it. And even if you that working class homeless, look, I know a few, that's okay, because you use that opportunity to build up your financial health. That's what you do, right? While you sleeping on cousin's couch, sister's couch, brother's, floor, if you have to, you do what you got to do. Listen, let me tell you, I was in this house and didn't have a bed. We barely got in the house. So when my husband died, by then we had bought a mattress. I had a mattress on the floor. Look, I'm telling you, we struggle. And sometimes we don't know what people going through, right? Especially on social media. Y'all don't get all caught up with what you see on social media, right? There is a real life person with issues behind all the glitz, glamour, the cute glasses, all of that. Okay. But I would definitely say, and I get passionate because, I begin to think about what God's done for me. Think about, wow, how far he's brought me. So I can tell you, you can make it. You can get through it. You keep on pushing. Don't give up. Believe God. Right? Even if you have to encourage yourself, if you got to cry. I ain't going to tell you how many times I screamed in my own pillow. Get those emotions out, but after it's over, get yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep moving, because you can do it. And if you want it, you can have it. I'm telling you, you can have it.
Absolutely. So two more questions I have for you.
Okay.
Well, I may have three, because I really want. First question of the three: how important is money in marriage?
It is critical. Listen, the important thing about, I could go on and on about that, but let me tell you, the important thing about money in marriage, the number one thing, right, is that money isn't everything. That's number one. So whether it's marriage, single life, no, you got to have money, right? But in marriage, it's critical. And the critical part about it is the communication, right? Before you get married, if you're not married and watch this, right? Go ahead and have those conversations. Y'all, I'm a believer when you date, go and start talking about money. Start asking questions that give you a hint or an idea of what this person's philosophy is. Listen, I want to tell you that long as y'all love each other, everything will be okay, but I'd be lying. Okay, I'd be lying.
That's a lie.
Right?
Like I see that. That's a lie.
Yeah, that would be a lie, right? Because money is, oh man, I wish we really had time, but money is it has such a spiritual connotation in our life, right? It's deeper than just the paper, just the currency. And many times, many of the divorces that happen in this country anyway, in America, are because of money problems, money issues, money fights, all those things. So money is critical. It's a critical element in marriage. I was married before my husband passed. We were together about 13 years, right? Look, them first years was something else, right? Because I had my own money, philosophy, which wasn't good. And he had, even though he had better credit, he had some ways too, y'all, now, okay? It just wasn't me. But we didn't talk about it beforehand. And I will tell you, the first couple of years, it was kind of rough, right? Until we really both sat down and both compromised and discussed, how we're going to live, what our aspirations were, what we wanted for each other, and what we wanted individually, right? That's important, right? So you might have a philosophy, but, like everything else in marriage, it does require probably some compromise, right? Both parties have to be on board. And I just think it's critical in marriage that when it comes to money decisions, especially big ones, right, that you guys are aligned, right? Both people in the marriage need to be on the same page in order for the marriage to be successful.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that advice. I hope one day I'll get married again, so I'm gonna have those conversations while we're dating. Okay. Let me know. It's not only about your credit score. I want to see how they spend money as well. Do they have a budget? One day I met this guy and I asked him, "Do you have a dating budget?" And he was like, "A dating budget?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Because I don't go out often. I did that when I was in high school. I did that when I was in 20s. I'm 53. I'm not jumping to go out every weekend. That's not my thing. But when
Yeah.
I do go out, I want to go out to places that's cultural. So I like a good Broadway play. And now, before Broadway plays, I would pay $300 for a ticket because I like to sit in the orchestra section. Like I said, I don't do it often, but when I
Yeah.
do it, I want to do it. And
Yeah.
he was like, a dating budget? I said, yeah, I think now more than ever, we that are in the dating pool, we should have a dating budget
Mhm.
because not every time you're going to let him pay for everything. You want to be fair. You know, you want to have that fair relationship where
Mhm.
sometimes if this is what I want to do, I'm going to pay for it. This is what I want to introduce you to something if you've never done it before. So I was like, okay. So he was very surprised when I talked about this dating budget. He was like, a dating budget? I was like, yeah, I think it's something that's important that we have nowadays because we have other responsibilities. We have to spend smarter. You
Mhm.
know, just like they say, work smart, we have to also spend smart. We have to be mindful of how we're managing our money. I want to talk about crime
Mhm.
and our money. Recently, as you know, crime is on the rise. Here in New York, crime is rampant.
Mhm.
Yeah, you, Coach Deb, I pray going out, I pray coming in. Okay, I pray over my kids. I tell them when they walk out the door, walk with God. Okay, because it's when you talk about critical, it's critical here in New York. And I'm praying that our mayor and the police department come up with a plan of action. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and his response was, crime is crime. I said, but crime is affecting our community. It's impacting our community in such a way now. I don't think people really understand how it's impacting us. With crime being on the rise, businesses' insurances are going to go up. Who pays that cost when a business gets affected by crime? And it could be one store that gets robbed. If there's like a mini mart, and people don't know this, if a store in a mini mart gets hit, the other insurances go up as well. Am I right when I say that?
Absolutely. Right. Insurance companies, it's all about risk, right? And so the higher the risk in any area, wherever your insurance is, the more that insurance is going to go up for that general area, right? And let's face it, who does it hurt? It hurts us, the consumer. Right? Because who's going to pay the higher cost? Who's going to have to absorb it, right? It definitely hurts our community as a whole because what happens, this is one of my things too. What happens in our communities is that we have the crime in our communities and then we can't get the services or the businesses that we need. Here in Houston, there are communities where it's a food desert, right? There's no grocery stores because the big grocers have tried to be in our communities and the crime has been rampant. Listen, my brother was a manager at a major chain here, and they
Mm-hmm.
literally built a store in one of our neighborhoods, one of Black and brown communities. My brother told me the crime would be so bad, people would literally walk in, grab tons of meat, just all kinds of stuff, and just walk out the door. Who's paying for that? We're paying for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because not only does that grocery store now pay more insurance, higher insurance, right? Obviously, I mean, they probably paying a big amount anyway to be in that community. But now they've got to recoup what's walking out the door all the time. Now, eventually, the store closed. That store is not there anymore. It closed after about 2 years, right? So when and that goes back to money, right? Because of there's a whole bunch of issues with that. But crime, let me stick to the topic. Crime
Mm-hmm.
in our communities hurts us. It not only hurts us, but it causes not only insurance rates to go up, but listen to this. It causes property values to go down, which allows gentrification to come in, right? Because now we can get all this great property,
Absolutely.
Mr. Man, at these
Absolutely.
great prices, and then we can
Absolutely.
build what we want for little of nothing. Get you out of there. You go somewhere else and do us a favor in another area. So it kills our legacy. And and kind of with that gentrification, I want to say this because my husband grew up in one of our communities. That community is no longer here. Our legacy, right? Our history is being erased with gentrification. Our history, our legacy, what we know, right? I used to take my kids when they were younger through that neighborhood so that they would know where their father lived, the streets that he walked on, the school that he went to, which is not there anymore. Right. So when we talk about crime, I mean, even when I look across the country with all this crime that's going on, y'all, it's hurting us. It's hurting us. We are literally saying, come take our property. Right? We're the small Black business owners that are in this community. Can they continue to afford the rising rate of liability insurance for their business? Mm-hmm. Can they afford to pay extra security all the time like some of the big companies can do? No. So we are literally putting them in a position where they have no choice. Right? Either to close down or sell. And then we get mad when we see gentrification. Don't even get me started. Because we don't hate it enough. Right? We don't hate it enough to get our cousins and our brothers and whoever else, right? Whoever is in our community damaging and committing these crimes. And y'all, come on, let's be real. Some of us out there know who it is.
That's something my friend did mention to me, Coach Deb. He said, here's the other issue. We had this saying, snitches get stitches. Mm-hmm. But when it happens to us, we want somebody to snitch.
Yeah.
When it happens to us personally, we want, come on, I know you always out here. But in the meantime, we are losing a battle that we could win.
Yes.
We are losing a battle that we could win because whether it's white collar crime or blue collar crime, we, the community, no matter what community it is, it's not even Black and brown, whatever community you're in, we get affected. Our schools get affected by it.
Yes.
We don't even realize this. Our schools get affected. The tax-paying dollars that are supposed to go to certain things, like schools and roads, we complain about the roads we drive on. We complain about certain things. We need to pay our teachers more.
Yeah.
Shout out to all the teachers across America. I know these past 2 years of being a homeschooler, my hats are off to teachers. But we can't afford to pay teachers because we now have to pay the jails, the correctional facilities. Let me say it right. The correctional facilities. We have to pay our police officers. And shout out to our officers. I know I've gotten into big fights with people about our officers, but I'm going to say this.
Yes.
We get what we pay for.
Come on.
In some communities, we're getting what we pay for.
Yep.
Okay, if you want better policing, we get what we pay for. Some officers they're like, I'm not putting my life on the line. And I have a friend who's in law enforcement, and she told me about the training. She said, it's kill or be killed. That's the mindset they put in them. Yeah. It's kill or be killed. So guess who's going home?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, their mindset is I'm going home.
Yeah.
So it's kill or be killed. And once you have that mindset, it's very hard to get rid of it because you're seeing this surge of crime that's going on in the communities. Yeah. And we are being affected. Law-abiding citizens are being affected by the crime. And it has become it's become an issue. So I'm gonna let you close out with some tips. Because your money monologues are on point every day. I gotta catch up. Valencia's like, Jay Valencia's like, you need to be out here with your customer service. I don't know what you're doing. You're playing around too much. That's what she tells me all the time. You're playing around with your customer service tips. Stop it. So please share. I do things in threes. So please share your 3 top tips on how we could be better with our money management.
Okay. All right. Let me give you three. Okay. Three tips. Number one, first thing you want to do is get a spending plan. Can I say the B word? Budget. Okay. Get a spending plan. I like to call it a spending plan because people get put off by budget, but it's the same thing. You need to know where your money is going. It's just that simple, right? You got to know how much is coming in, how much is going out, where it's going before you can even begin to figure out how you're going to manage it, right? You got to know that. So get a spending plan. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be exact every month. Don't worry about all that. All you want to do is have control. Can I say that? Control. That's the key. I control my money. I know where it's going. Number two, be aware. Right, we were talking about. I know, Ronnie, you were talking about the inflationary times. You know, all these things that we're going through. All right, be aware of what's on sale. How about that? Right, we are complaining about the grocery stores. Don't set your, let me say it this way, don't make your shopping list on what you want. Let's look at the sale paper first, right? Because the meats, if you're a meat eater, you want to get the meats that are on sale, y'all. Go ahead and plan your meals that week around what's on sale. I know
Or
somebody
sometimes
don't
go
like that.
vegan. Or sometimes
Exactly.
go vegan. You know,
Yeah.
have no meatless Mondays. You know.
Yes. Do whatever. But yeah, you want to definitely though watch the sales. You want to try to plan around what's least expensive, right? And you don't want to eat out as much. Okay? Because eating out, and I know, I had a being a friend was talking about this. So if you're single, sometimes it feels like eating out is about the same as cooking. It's not the same. Cook. Cook, right? My daughter went through a tough time, and she'll probably watch this, and she know, look, you can eat cheap if you have to. Don't let me play with y'all, especially us in the black and brown. You better get them pinto beans and rice out and get you get you some sausage, some wieners, look, some ramen noodles. Don't play with me. So yeah, do what you have to do, but definitely watch watch the sale papers and plan around that. Number three, make sure you're giving. Right? Once you got your budget, go ahead and give to the Lord. Now I'm talking to the believers out there. So we know give and it shall be given unto us, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, run over. So but you need to budget for that. That's why you need the spending plan. So you can give, right? So you want to pay attention to what you're spending. You want to make sure that you're checking those sale papers out, right? And doing your grocery shopping accordingly. And you want to give. And I'm not going to give a fourth tip, but let me add on to the grocery shop. You also want to plan for big purchases, right? Really decide, do I need to make a big purchase? I know the holidays are coming. Y'all, everybody don't have to have 10 gifts. They really don't. Right? It's supposed to be, if you love Christmas, you love Jesus and all that, he's the reason for the season, right? So make sure that you don't overspend, don't get caught up in emotion. Go ahead right now, where are we? August 17th, go ahead and make your Christmas list. Start thinking about who I'm about for. Go ahead and start budgeting. Get your spending plan, that spending plan together, and begin to plan for that. All right. Big purchases. Do you really need a new TV? You know, I like TVs. I'm an electronic person, Rod. So I like to buy new stuff every year. But you know what? I don't need another TV. So we need to ask ourselves those questions, because what can I do with that money? Right? Because the other side of giving is investing, right? Investing in you and me, right? Whether it's education, whatever it is. You want to prepare for whatever's coming. I don't know what's coming, maybe nothing coming. But we'd rather be prepared than caught off guard, right? So you want to invest, right? And if you don't have enough to invest in something, then you need to be investing in you. You need to get into a place where you can invest so that you can begin to make more money. How about that? What do you think about that, Rhonda?
That's wonderful. So I just want to add on something. You talked about Christmas real quick. And it just came to me, Chris Kringle. You know how the office does, you pick and put everybody's name. I think that that's a good way now this year, especially in this season. Everyone does their family, especially if you come from a big family and everybody wants a gift. I think that's a good way, and put a limit on it. Put a
Yes.
limit to how much and I'm a family of 4 now, so I think that's what we're going to do. I'll put everybody's name in a hat and everybody will pick, and we'll do buy gifts that way, because it's like it is costly now. Everything has gone up.
Mm-hmm.
And you talk about eating in, Coach Doug, you seen the course, the oxtails, which is actually cowtail. We won't get into that.
We
But
won't get into it because I'm mad about
but I
that
was
too.
shocked. I went and there was 6 pieces. I was telling my son because he was like, "Mommy, can you make some oxtail? Can you make some oxtail?" And I'm like, "No, I can't make any oxtail. It's too expensive."
It's
Anyway,
expensive.
um, I see that Instagram now has a time limit, so I got to get off. I didn't know that. Oh my gosh. Coach Deb, it was great having you on the show. Thank you. You're going to do a part 2 of this because other
Thank you.
things are coming up. I love you. Thank you, Coach Deb. Have